to the One for the Road podcast. My name is Mr. K. Alongside me is C Squared as always. Tonight's topic, the evolution of the PC. So I thought me and C Squared would go down memory road once again.
Oh, you gotta
One
love
of our
that,
favorite
man.
subjects, the evolution of the PC. Me and C Squared have been in IT a combined, I'd say 60 years, right? I've been in
Yep.
over 35, so
So have
might
I.
be
So you
close to
shorted us by
70.
a decade
I
there,
think we're
Mr.
up to
K.
close to pushing to 70. So
Yep.
for the youngins, this will be quite the education. We lived through most of this. I mean, well, we lived through all of it, but some of it's a little hazy. We'll start off in 77 when I was 12, and I recall one piece of this. C Square probably recalls most of this. First widely available personal computer was the Commodore PT,
That's
announced in
right.
Jan 1977. That doesn't ring a bell, but these next two do. Uh, the first released computer, according to the research I did, was at the Apple II. It was introduced in April and shipped in June of 77. Uh,
Well, how about, and this was a computer. It wasn't a computer you could use, but I was about probably 10 years old and got an Atari machine for
oh, yeah.
Christmas.
I would call that a gaming system.
That's right.
But
Yeah.
this one, I do remember the TRS 80. The
Yeah, yeah,
TRS
yeah.
80 was released in 77, and that I remember.
Yeah,
Uh,
my brother had a TI 99 and it had no disc in it.
oh, wow.
And we would mess around with that and save the storage to cassette tape.
Oh,
If any
yeah.
of you folks remember what a cassette tape
Oh,
is,
yeah,
man,
that's right. I think the TRS 80 was the same way. If you wanted to store anything, you had to store it to cassette tape.
that's right. Yeah, yeah. No, and you could reload it off cassette tape, dude. That was
Yep.
fairly ingenious
Yep.
because everybody had a little cassette recorder, man.
Yes. Yes.
Brilliant.
Yes. And those are relatively inexpensive. I mean, compared to the other technologies, and
Yeah,
especially at the
yeah, no,
time.
right.
We're talking 77. TRS 80 was released in August, sold over 100,000 units. These three computers are referred to in computer lore as the 1977 Trinity, and that this marked the arrival of mass market personal computers that people could actually somewhat afford.
Yeah, yeah, right.
So my high school in 1982 had a computer lab with 15 TRS 80s, and they taught us BASIC on them.
Oh, nice.
And that's how I fell in love with computers, and that's why I decided to pursue a computer science major, and that ended up being in a very successful IT career, I'd say, because I've made a lot of money.
Yep.
Did you have a similar experience?
Well, so I eventually bought an Amiga 1000, which was owned by Commodore and then
Yeah.
spit out because I wanted to do video graphics
Oh,
processing. And I did do a lot of that
huh.
with bands. And
How
so at
neat.
one point in time, I was actually doing more video production, uh, video editing,
Wow.
um, with the Amiga. But that was later on. I'm thinking that that was late 80s.
Yes, and I that comes up when that computer was released, definitely in the 80s. Moving on, 1981, IBM's first PC, the IBM 5150, is released. First one to run a little known operating system called MS-DOS.
There you go.
1.0.
But now hold on here, Mr. K. I'm so MS was not what most of those things actually ran. So here is the scam about those things. IBM ran IBM DOS.
Yeah.
NCR ran NCR DOS. How did you get the Microsoft piece? because baked into the contract, any upgrades from the current version you released had to come from Billy Boy Gates.
Mm,
So
yes.
that is the scam. I got you to install this OS that you thought you were going to own. And
Right.
guess what? When time comes to re-release these things, I am the only one who can re-release them
Right. Right.
unless you
Exactly.
fork the code.
Yep.
Good
Yep.
luck. Here's the code. Go ahead and
Yeah.
fork it.
Yeah.
And it turns out IBM should have forked the code.
Yes.
NCR should have forked the code. And I will tell you while we're on this subject. So uh, the NCR machines, when NCR was still a powerhouse,
And they were in the
had
early 80s.
that's right, and had a a orange button on these things. It was white with all this orange on it. The colors were hideous, but and that's how you knew it was an NCR. The
Right.
colors were hideous. But NCR DOS was buggier than crap and would get hung all the time. And so, whenever you used an NCR machine in these data centers, the joke was I had to call Bob 5 times to get this thing working. Bob was big orange button. Press the power button and reboot this machine, and maybe it'll actually reboot.
Well, it sounds like NCR, those computers weren't running much at all. But
Right,
when
no,
it got
exactly.
reboot, fifth
That was
time's the
that
charm.
literally they got rid of all those machines. They sold them off to employees and they never bought another NCR machine again.
Yeah, I can see
So
why.
yikes.
The thing that's amazing about the IBM 5150, it had 1 meg of RAM. And what's
There you are.
amazing was how you had to be really good at writing code back in those days and even beyond a little bit because RAM was expensive and it was not plentiful. And a lot of these computers didn't have a lot installed on them.
But let me tell you what was on some of these machines. There was no Windows,
Right.
which
Oh,
was
yeah.
a
We're in the DOS era
massive
here.
hog. So you could run one program at a time out
Yes.
of DOS because DOS was not like Linux or Linux didn't even exist, but it was not
Right.
like Unix at that time where you can open up multiple
Right.
terminals and they
Right.
had built X windows and stuff of that nature. You only had one terminal. So you would run Ashton Tate's DBase
Right.
to
Right.
as your database or a little company called Word
Oh,
Perfect.
yeah. We're getting into
And
those
so
later.
and so you look at those aspects of things and say Microsoft came in and raided that code base, made it so that you couldn't run that stuff easily on their Windows system and just recreated that software and Windows and destroyed those companies.
Right. Oh,
With
yeah.
with so what did they do? And they didn't even write the code for that. So what was the original competitor to Ashton Tate DBase when they actually bought it and released it?
Oh,
Let's see.
I know
Can you think
Access
of
came
this?
after.
It came after Ashton Tate, but they ran Ashton
Didn't
Tate out
Borland
of
have something? Or did Borland buy D Ashton Tate? I
I
think
think Borland bought Ashton Tate when they were falling apart. You're right.
I can't remember. Do you?
Fox Pro.
Oh, yes. That's right. That's
So
right.
they bought
Fox
Fox Pro, and
Pro.
what did Fox Pro eventually gain? I think it is the precursor to SQL Server.
Right.
I
Right.
think it.
Yeah.
I think eventually they just kept innovating it, and then Fox Pro became SQL Server.
Right. Right. Yeah. Yeah. But yeah, back you make a good point back in those days, and I did this in '89. My computer ran DOS, and you okay, what do you want to do today? Because this is not a multitasking operating system, so you get to do one thing. And I go, well,
That's
I guess I'm gonna write documents with Word Perfect now.
that's right.
If I want to do spreadsheets later, I got to take out the Word Perfect disk and put in the Lotus 123.
That's right. Yeah,
And I want to
Lotus.
build
There
a
you go,
database
man.
of information. And no, none of it was connected. I mean, that
Right,
to your
right.
point, oh, you want connectivity to run things multi? Yeah, go to the Unix side. Sun, those dudes. They can do
Well, yeah,
that.
I don't think Sun existed when we were doing Ashton Tate and stuff of that nature, but they
They
did.
did in the late
How about
80s.
this? They did the computers could connect together in a primitive way with a little thing called token ring
Oh,
and
yeah.
Novell
Yeah.
networks.
Novell and 3M. Oh, not 3M. I forget.
The That's hilarious. This is memory lane.
Yes.
Okay.
Okay, 82. Let's jump to 82. Commodore 64 and NEC PC 98 with dual 5.25 inch floppy disk drives.
Oh
82.
gosh, you
NEC,
could
one of my,
copy a disc now
yes.
without changing it out. Oh, you could copy a disc. You'd copy a certain amount of sectors. You'd
Yes.
eject it. You'd put the other one in there and copy that, and then you'd be going back and forth.
Well, they had duals, though. You could copy one. It was A and B, I think. Remember, it
Yeah,
was
yeah,
A and
yeah.
B.
I'm just saying when it before they essentially before people could afford a second disk
Right.
drive, you actually flip disks
Oh,
back and
yes, that's
forth in the
right.
same drive.
Yeah. 82 was the formation of Compaq. Compaq was formed by three former Texas Instrument employees.
There you are, man.
Texas Instrument, in my mind, made the first commercially available calculator and the first one I ever owned, courtesy of my
Yeah.
parents.
Well, that TI 99, TI, Texas
Yeah.
Instruments,
Yeah.
man. There you go.
Good old Compaq found in Texas, 82. Intel launched the 286 CPU in 82. So no more
Yeah.
8086 and XT 286 was 16-bit and so much faster.
Yeah, well, you know what? And you could do way better graphics because I
Yes.
remember on the 286, you could run a little game called Leisure Suit Larry in the Land of the Lounge Lizards. And I think it was Sega that made
That was not
that.
an office friendly game and a
That's right.
game you didn't
Well,
want to bring
that
into the
That's
office.
right, dude. Bubba the pimp just took you out, and you, you've lost a life.
Those were the days. The Grid Compass 1101 came out in 82. It's, in my mind, really the first laptop. It's the first one that really looked like a laptop. Actually, it
Yeah,
kind of had a flip top, used extensively by NASA and the military that
yeah.
year.
I do remember Sun in the early 90s, and my boss, the owner of the company, had a Sun. I think it was pre-Spark, but it was a Sun book, and they eventually called them Spark books. And he said, this is the brains of the operation. I just paid $47,000
Hmm.
for this laptop.
For the
It was
Spark
a
book,
decked out. It was a. I don't think he was even a Spark machine yet. I don't think Sun had come out with Spark yet,
probably
man.
Motorola, because precursor
Yep,
to Sun's Spark chip was they used Motorola's 60, I think the 68030 chips.
yep, yeah.
And Apple used those too. But yeah, that was wild. Back in those days, Motorola was one of the leading CPU makers, and then they
Right,
went into
yeah, yeah.
phones. 83 was the rise of software, as we mentioned before. Our buddies Lotus 123, Database 3, and WordPerfect were all launched in 83.
There you are.
So they were the holy trinity of software, if you ask me. WordPerfect was the
I
word
absolutely were,
processor.
man.
Lotus 123 was spreadsheets, and DBase 3 was your database.
Yep.
Radio Shack released the first notebook. sized tablet computer, and HP released the HP 150. It actually had a touch screen. I don't remember that.
In
Do you?
Yeah, I don't remember that either. Not that
Yeah.
early. Good God.
We jumped to 84, and of course, 84 was the year of the Apple Macintosh. Everybody remembers. Well, they only showed it once. The Super Bowl commercial in 1984, where the woman representing Apple is going after Big Brother, IBM.
Yeah. Well, and so put that basically put a wrench in the gears of Commodore, I think.
Yes,
Um, uh, because they, even though Commodore did better graphics, that thing was print friendly and worked in
yes,
screen shops for professional stuff of that nature. But the whole story of all those people, all Steve Jobs and Billy Boy Gates and all those guys going to a little company called Xerox and ripping off all
yes.
their technology. Although I will say, I think the mouse was ripped off from Atari. And
Oh, yeah.
I from if you remember a game in the 70s, an arcade game called Centipede.
Oh, yeah, yeah, yeah.
And
Yeah.
Centipede had a big ball that was the size of a
That's right.
softball that you rolled back and forth, and that's how you moved the shooter to shoot things,
Yep, the
man. And I
trackball.
swear that a trackball, and that I swear was the invention of the mouse, even though you were rolling the ball with your hands.
I had heard that, back to your other point, I had heard that in Xerox, I mean, they basically had the Apple Macintosh in like 60s, maybe the 70s with a mouse.
Yeah,
I mean, it
yeah,
was a
yeah,
GUI with a mouse. And yeah, Apple and everybody just stole that. But
yeah.
I mean, that's the way it is. We could go on and on. Oh,
Yeah,
question. Did you ever see that Apple Macintosh commercial?
yeah, yeah.
Okay.
Where it's
Do you
where he
know the
throws the
famous
ham.
director of that commercial?
I'm gonna guess. I do not, but I am going to guess. And give me a second to come up with the name there, Mr. K.
That's okay.
I'm gonna say the same dude who um did the movie The Wall for Pink Floyd, which would have been that's
It is.
probably not right.
I don't think it is, but you got me curious as to who directed The Wall.
Yeah.
Who directed The Wall? Alan Parker directed The Wall. He did not direct the
No, no, no,
Macintosh, but
no,
that's a
no. That's
very,
not
very
the right.
good.
That is not the right name. Who wrote The Wall or produced The Wall? Because
Alan
that's
Parker
not the.
directed the movie,
Yeah,
though.
yeah. Well, but it was pretty much animated, so there wasn't
Right,
much
right, right.
directing. I want to say Geffen, but it's not Geffen. Now I'm going to look. Who wrote the movie with
Gerald Scarfe did the animation. Roger Waters wrote the screenplay.
It does say Alan Parker, so that's who you came up with. I
Yes.
had, hold on, Bob Geldof.
Well, he's the star
Is
of it.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I was so okay. All righty.
Good guess with Alan Parker, because the
Yeah, yeah,
motifs are very, very similar. And Alan Parker did some really wild movies like The Wall prior
yeah,
and
yeah, yeah.
following.
So who do we got there?
It's Ridley Scott who did Blade Runner.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Yeah, it was off the heels of Blade Runner, and Ridley Scott, of course, did both Gladiator movies and tons of great movies. But Ridley Scott was the director of that commercial. Uh,
Nice.
Also in 84 marked Dell begins business as PCs Limited, and Dell was Michael Dell selling PCs Limited computers from his dorm room at the University of Texas.
Pretty
That's
brilliant.
how he got his start. And that was in 84 too. 85, your favorite Amiga 1000 by Commodore is released.
There you go. And that is a,
Gateway 2000 is founded. The boys in South Dakota, I believe it was the Wyatt brothers. Great computers. I owned one. Me and the missus bought one when they were quite popular and quite inexpensive. 1985, PCs Limited rebranded themselves to Dell. And they came out with the Turbo PC.
I remember the turbo, dude. I had a 386 with the turbo on it, baby. A clock.
I, yeah. Uh,
So,
in 89 at my job, we had one, and it was like it was the fastest computer at the time.
so what do we think the turbo actually did?
It lit up a light and
Well,
ignited a
it definitely did
fan.
that too.
Ignited a fan
Well, you're
because it,
red hot, and so was that motherboard.
right, right.
And so it was a clock speed
That's right.
doubler.
Very
And
good.
so that's what that thing
That's
actually
right.
did. So in most cases, I'm thinking it just lit up the light and turned on a fan, but it supposedly was a clock speed
Right.
doubler.
I did notice it go faster, and the CP. I figured it was, yeah, the clock speed had to increase because the uh, heat from the CPU would trigger the fan.
You got it right. Yep.
86 Packard Bell begins business and releases their first PC. Do you remember Packard Bell?
I do remember
They were a
Packard Bell.
big player in the 80s. We'll get into
Yes,
that
they were.
later.
I think I bought one of those used.
Yeah, yeah. I used to work at CompUSA in the early 90s, and they were very popular.
Yeah.
Uh, Packard Bell was the first to pre-install DOS on a hard drive on their
Ooh, there you
computers.
are, man.
So that was neat. Prior to that, yeah, you either booted off your floppy. You didn't have the luxury of a hard drive. I know my first
Yeah.
computer at work in '89 didn't have a hard drive. That's a
Yep.
luxury.
Oh yeah.
But yeah, Packard Bell, that's because they became so popular. The greatest thing about Packard Bell, they pre-installed DOS, so you didn't have to screw around with formatting disks and
Yep.
stuff like that. Other computers shipped without the OS, and you had to figure it out yourself and format the disk first.
So I will, ask you another question. This
Okay.
is a really hard one there, Mr. K. If you get this, I'll be shocked. What version of DOS went from 8-bit to 16-bit? Then I'll tell you
4-0.
the quick. What's this?
4-0.
I think you're right. So 3.3 was the last
3-3
8-bit
was
one.
great.
I don't recall if they skipped and went from 3.3 to 4.0. If that's the case, that's the
They
right answer.
did. They went from
Okay, so
3-3 to
there you are.
4-0.
So 4.0 was 16-bit. I, for a short period of time, was in the sales and installation of IVR systems,
Hmm.
the first voice response units that took over your television setup. And the owner of this company bought an 8-bit piece of software to be bought bought it being I'm now the owner of the rights to resell this software. I
Right.
now own the code base. So I'm not talking about going down to the store and buying a piece of software. He bought the rights, the ownership rights to this 8-bit IVR system and told us to start going and installing the 8-bit IVR system on 16-bit DOS. I can tell you that was a bad technical decision. There were many of unhappy
Woo!
customers when
Yes.
their garbled voicemail messages were were being played back. And
I imagine it being played at the speed of 33.
Well, so it wasn't fast enough
Right.
to actually pick that up, so it would just drop pieces of it. So
Oh,
you would get what?
geez.
I'm all
Oh
so
my God.
uh,
Yeah, I remember DOS 4.0 being, I remember 3.3 was great and you in the 8-bit world. And then they came out with 4.0 and they're like, yeah, you got to have a 286 to run this. And we're like, okay. And then you ran it and it was like, oh my God, this is terrible. I
yeah,
want to go back
right,
to
exactly.
3.3.
Yeah. Billy Boy Gates. While he was
Windows.
manipulating all kinds of things that he got sued for and somehow managed to not lose the company.
Right.
How I don't know. It seems like he knew some people.
Yeah,
All
I think,
through his life, it sounds like Billy knew some people.
yes, Billy
A
knew
bunch of
people.
people that you probably don't. That
Right.
you're really glad that you didn't know.
Right. Right. All right, 87 IBM released the PS2. Remember that? It was the
I
first one with
remember
the built-in
PS2.
three and
That's
a
right.
half
Yeah.
inch diskette drive. That drive could store 1,440 kilobytes, where the five
Oh
and a
yeah,
quarter could
dude. Yeah,
only store
that's right.
360.
Yeah, there you are, man.
Lots of laptop portables came out in 87 from Toshiba, Zenith, and NEC. And I forgot about this.
NEC.
Zenith.
Wow.
Zenith was a big deal for a
Yeah,
while.
I don't recall as much Zenith as NEC was huge.
Yes, NEC was huge. But yeah, I worked at my first job. They had Zenith computers. They were pretty good.
Hmm.
They had, a bit of the market share in the 80s.
That's
88 was a good year. Creative Labs introduced the Sound Blaster car prior
I
to
had a
that.
sound blaster. That's right.
Yes.
I had a sound blaster.
Those things were great. Prior to that, you had like a speaker that was as big as a $50, and the sound quality was horrible. You got a
Yeah.
Creative Labs Sound Blaster card, and it was awesome. Steve Jobs unveiled the Next computer with a 256 meg magneto optical drive for storage. That thing was very innovative, if you ask
Oh
me.
yeah.
I think it ran like, wasn't the Next OS kind of like
It was it was his
Linux-like?
version of Unix. Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
I think it was B. I think you know what, Mr. K. I think Apple is still down that path, dude. I think he built it on BSD
Yeah.
Linux. Next was BSD Linux. Then he eventually merged Next back with Apple to get control of Apple again when
Yeah.
Apple was in the toilet.
Yeah.
And Next became the Apple OS.
Yep.
And I
Yep.
still think that the Apple OS is built on a core of BSD Linux.
BSD. Yep.
That's
Yep. Computers became more expensive in 88 because there was a DRAM chip shortage.
there you are.
Intel released an offshoot and more inexpensive version of the 386 chip called the 386SX. Remember that? Cheaper, but a bit
Yeah,
slower, but it does 32-bit.
yeah. I was gonna say it was the 385, but
Right. Then there was a group called the Gang of Nine, and they released a new architecture called the EISA bus, the ISA bus, to
there
compete
you
with
are, man.
IBM's MC bus, the microchannel bus, which was in
Yeah.
all PS2s and the IBM line of computer.
And the deal with the micro channel is you had to have micro channel hardware or it
Yes,
would not, mostly sold by IBM, or it
yes.
wouldn't run where
Oh, want a
the
sound card?
yeah, that's right. So
Who makes a
the
microchannel sound card? IBM.
ISA bus was basically open to all
Yes,
manufacturers. And so this story, since we're still in the 80s, reminds me much of a company that invented something called a VCR and Betamax. And
yes.
the reason that they invented VHS was because this little company called Sony would
Right.
not allow anybody to it made sure that they had to license the beta format from them to reproduce any unit. So they just invented a different format and said, now this format is open source,
Yes.
man. And so that's how you got VHS. That's how
Yep.
you got the ISO local bus
Yes.
pieces, man.
Yes. So interesting. The Gang of Nine, I knew some of them. HP Compact definitely were in there. Just to let you know, AST, I remember them. They were a big deal.
Yeah,
NEC, we mentioned before. Olivetti, I never heard of.
yeah.
Seiko Epson, that made sense. Epson made a ton of printers, and
Oh yeah,
they
Epson.
made
Yeah, I
they were
remember Epson.
way up there in printer market share in the 80s. Wise, I remember,
Yeah.
and Zenith were the Gang of
I
Nine.
remember Epson because I will tell you another quick story. I caught one on fire. It got
Oh,
so hot, it actually caught fire and silicon started to melt. Lucky I was co-oping at the Environmental Protection Agency when I cleared the floor out from
they've seen
burning
fire.
silicon. And
They knew how to deal with fire.
they knew how to deal with that with a chemical disaster.
Right.
And
Wow. Was
everybody
that the
else,
printer or the computer?
what's this?
Was it a printer or a
No, it was
computer?
a computer.
Oh,
Yeah, yeah,
yes.
computer.
I
Yeah,
remember they made computers and
it
they
was a
were,
desktop. It was not a
yeah,
laptop. It was a
yeah.
desktop.
I remember a few of those Epson computers. I remember them not being very stable. Their printers were really good back in
I
the
still
day.
to this day I have no idea how that thing caught on fire.
Wow.
And
89 Intel released the 486 chip. CD-ROM drive started to make the scene, and
yeah,
another breakout year for laptops.
where
1990 is when Microsoft shipped Windows 3.0, and boy, did that look like the Apple operating
yeah, yeah,
system.
yeah, right, exactly. The exactly it. So when did AMD come along is the question.
Later in the 90s.
Oh, okay, because I was going to talk eventually about the that was their big thing was they used the turbo idea and
Yes,
did their DX chip, which that piece was a clock multi like pseudo multi-core clock doubler, and
yes, yes.
very interesting.
Photoshop was released in
There,
1990.
Photoshop. Oh yeah.
Uh, 91, I just have a market share. What's in 91, IBM led the PC's market share. Apple was number two. In 91, Apple released their first line of PowerBooks laptops. They were pretty
Yeah.
slick looking. They didn't sell well. They released a trio, the 100, the 140, and the 170. I remember in the 90s, mid 90s, selling the 300 line.
Speaking of that, you talked about all the gang of nine and the
Yes.
big three, the trio software manufacturers. You know who's still around? And you just brought them up. And shocking, Adobe.
Yes.
And they
Yes.
are still in business.
Oh,
That is
yeah.
amazing. So I would like to say hats off to
Yes.
Adobe. They are still in business. They have survived
You have survived.
many decades of brutal competition.
Yes. I mean, what, 36 years now they've been in business.
Really.
I mean, they released Photoshop in 90. They might have even been in business prior to
I think
that.
they were in business. I think they were
Right.
an offshoot. I think Adobe worked for Xerox. The dude
Right.
named Adobe worked for Xerox in the 70s. And he took all the typeface, the true type fonts. That
Right.
was the first thing they
Yes.
sold you.
Yep.
It was for printing, and it made the Macs.
Yep.
And
Yep.
so he was smart. That guy was smart enough
Oh,
to
yeah.
actually take something of substantial value. I invented the thing called the font.
Yep. Yep. All right, folks, we got to wrap it up. You can get us on email at one for the road podcast at gmail.com. Our website's onefortheroad.net. You can access on four audio platforms, RSS, Spotify, Zeno FM, and Podbean. Like and subscribe to us on YouTube. For C Squared, I'm Mr. K. Have a great week.
Thanks, folks.